Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about a really exciting, different topic today. Leading up to the solstice period of time, we are going to be talking a little bit about solar storms, auroras, and a new proliferation of geomagnetic storms that have been happening here in 2023. And really over the last 2 years, there has been a general increase in geomagnetic activity as well as solar activity, solar storms, solar flares. I wanted to come on and give you my own perspective about this as an astrologer and sort of speak about some of the I suppose, like quantum implications of this. In the description box, I'm going to link a few references of some of the scientific articles that I've read about it, so you can get that perspective as well. I'm not going to be talking as much about that perspective, but I have used that to inform myself for this video as well. So definitely check out the description box to see some references. And yes, so I want to talk about this and how this is probably affecting the collective. Before we continue with the video, I do want to give you an update about my content. Yes, all of the 12 monthly sign-by-sign forecasts are now exclusive to Patreon. Over there, you can find all of the readings ad-free, and you can also get weekly forecasts called T-Chats, where I reflect on the current energies of the general time and talk about upcoming astrology transits. All of this is paired with wonderful audio quality and efficient navigation to help streamline your access to this premium content. So yes, going hand in hand with this update, I am offering a 7-day free trial to my Patreon page, meaning that you can get your first 7 days free. So yes, that will be linked below in the top comment, as well as in the top right-hand corner of this screen. Definitely come and check out the new updated Patreon. We have a lot of really exciting premium content over there, and it's just beautiful and very easy to work with. So thank you all so much, and let's continue with the video. What I've seen in some of these articles is that we had a particularly potent period of solar storms during February and March of 2023. There was, in fact, a severe geomagnetic storm that happened on March 23rd and 24th. And there was as well really strong activity during February, and it's been definitely keeping very consistent and has been kind of like acting up ever since as well. I definitely predict as well, like as we're hitting this solstice period of time, and probably for the remaining 23 and likely a lot of 24, there will continue to be really strong solar activity. What does this mean? So let's talk a little bit about how this affects people, in my opinion, at more of a like spiritual and quantum level. And we'll just kind of have a little bit of a dialogue around this and see where it takes us. So first of all, burnouts, okay? Heat, an increase in temperature, an increase in tension, an increase in activity, radiation, and for some people, even inspiration, motivation, and productivity. So this, of course, humans are electric beings. We have these electrical nervous systems. And when we have the sun basically shooting these rays of radiation at the Earth and it coming into the atmosphere, and it's kind of like a bit of a microwave. It's kind of like a bit of more than that as well. It's way more than a microwave. It's more like an activation of the nervous system and a communication process that's happening between the sun and solar beings, which humans certainly can be. So there's some type of new communication I feel that's happening between the sun and humans, which how that might translate into real life would be like suddenly you're realizing what you need to do. There's maybe a reprogramming, I feel, or what people have kind of gravitated to before is changing. So one of the main things that has been happening with this stronger geomagnetic activity and solar flares during 23 is people starting to reacclimate, starting to realign, starting to rethink or re-communicate to themselves why they're doing certain things or what they're moving toward. So a solar flare especially is a very cardinal kind of linear sort of movement of energy. The sun is literally like pulsating out energy towards the Earth. And if you can imagine you or yourself also kind of doing things like that, like having very linear pursuits or having things that you're really like shooting your energy out in a very masculine, very direct way, This is something that has been very active really since the end of 2020, when we had Saturn and Jupiter go into the sign of Aquarius and form that 0-degree conjunction. I really feel that that played a part in connecting to this solar energy more, as that is on the axis of the sun, the Leo-Aquarius axis. And what happened is people started to get much more masculine. So we went through the 2010s decade, where it was much more of a feminine energy, and it was much more of a yin, deep within internal movement that was happening. And then we hit 2020, and that was still the case with the triple Capricorn conjunction. I think that really climaxed there. And we hit the end of 2020, and while there's still an echo or a fading of that like deep, dark feminine energy, it really it took a polarized shift into very, very strong masculine sort of linear energy. So what this means in 2023, as this has hit a certain like a breaking point or turning point, is that people aren't as subtle, I feel. I feel that people aren't as in the dark either. So there's a major lighting up happening, not just in a physical sense, but in a perceptual sense, I would say, because the sun, if you think sort of symbolically, or the sun is what allows us to perceive, because without the sun, there is only darkness, and not even darkness that we would perceive as darkness. So even the darkness that we know, that's like the darkness of the night, still has a certain illumination by the sun. So when you get these strong solar flares and geomagnetic storms, I think that it is indicating that darkness is really like overtaking, or that there is a relationship with the dark, or with the yin, with the unseen, with the unknown, that was probably maybe overbalanced, not overbalanced, but like imbalanced on that side. And I think that the solar flares are very poetic in that sense, because they're kind of like opening up our lens of perception, and a lot of us are perceiving things we've never perceived before. So an elevation in consciousness probably happening in tandem with this increase in geomagnetic activity, geomagnetic storms, and also an increase in general storms. Okay, so not just solar storms, but we're talking earth plane storms as well. So hurricanes, tornadoes, thunderstorms, a much more stormy period of time, and with reason as well, or with a certain type of direction. So storms, or increase in thunder and lightning, and these types of elemental energies of storm here on the earth plane, I think also are probably increasing in conjunction with these solar flares. And then also at a more spiritual level, so interior storms, being in a state of conflict, being in a state of internal storm, not knowing how to proceed, trying to wait things out, trying to deliberate things, not being perhaps satisfied. I think that that also increases with solar flares. And another thing that as I was meditating on this topic, I found that there's a major surfacing of what we consider negative qualities, or storm-like qualities. So people who have like a vengeful streak, people who have a manipulative streak, any of these sort of like dark triad, sort of even Machiavellian personality traits, I think are also, since really the latter part of 2022, really have been at a high. So this is kind of a cool little spiritual interpretation of this increase in solar activity. Is it's kind of like pulling out some of the darkness, or it's almost like destroying some of these dark parts by making them obvious. So like people in your life, like you could kind of interpret it this way as well, I think. Like if you have anybody in your life who's like really been struggling with like good and evil or something, the evil really gets strong, I think, and gets perceptible. So it's not like as hidden, it's not as occult, it's not as like beneath the surface. And this is why I think you're seeing like so many people having like these sort of like mass collective wake up cycles, or these mass collective cycles of understanding and seeing of evil or of dark qualities. But this can also then fall into shadow. So criticism culture, or like people starting to like now profit from exposing, or to profit from like also types of hysteria, or even like mob culture or something like that, relating to, you know, sort of finding the darkness or exposing that which has been hidden before. So that's interesting to see happening right now too. And a lot of people feeding off of other people's pain. So things like the vampirism comes really up to the surface, I think. And actually, I think that this type of solar activity is just starting to storm as I'm filming this video. I don't know if you guys can hear the rain on my roof. I'm gonna give it a second. I love when synchronicities like that happen. Okay, so it's very stormy. All of a sudden, as I'm filming this video, people's own inner storm channels during times of high solar activity. Things that people have been hiding from, things that people have been sweeping under the rug, things that people have been afraid to face, come up to be faced completely and totally during times of increased solar activity. That's the very interesting thing about the Earth plane. I mean, I love this planet. It's like you have this day and night cycle, right? Where, and throughout the different times of the year, it moves equally from one polarity to the other. So you have like the summer solstice, right? Where we, in the northern hemisphere, have the longest days. And then you have the winter solstice where we have the longest nights. And it fluctuates between these at the equinoxes. And this shows the inherent balance of the Earth. Like the Earth really, to me, represents total balance because of the way that it works with time and the way that it has equal time shared between the dark and the light. However, really since like the Industrial Revolution, we've had a major growth, also the Enlightenment as well. We've had a major growth of like offsetting the natural cycles. So for example, having like electricity in the house, so you are like creating false light during the time of the dark. So during the nighttime, especially if you're someone like me who enjoys to burn the midnight oil, that's not working in the natural balance with the Earth cycles. So just that's another little interesting thing that comes up in this video, and kind of is interesting to think about, like maybe the prevalence of false light cultures creating like a quantum reaction of like greater solar activity. Because people are like so engaged in like dislocation from the natural cycles of the Earth. So when you're up at night with your lamps on, with your, I don't know, your candles burning, or try to balance these things a little bit better if you can, because I think that you will have less of a hard time with the geomagnetic storms. Because when you've got your lights on at nighttime, you're like training your body to think that it's day when it's night, and then you have like the dark blackout curtains on your windows and when you're sleeping, and you're training your body to think that it's night when it's day. And also even certain spiritual movements like shadow work. Okay, so trying to find the gem within the darkness, or trying to find even the problem in certain like seemingly positive or even like toxically positive situations. All of this inversion doctrine, all of this way that we find the inverse polarity within certain things is a part of the equation as well. Because of course, if you look at like the yin yang symbol, for example, you see that you do have that little bit of yin in the yang symbol and that little bit of yang in the yin symbol. But I feel that at a quantum level, an increase in solar activity, geomagnetic storm, is an indication that we need to go back to the basics, or that we need to start aligning day with day and night with night, okay? Because the solar flare is like a reminder of like where the light comes from in the first place, and to not try to get too like intricate, or to try to get too like contrarian with the sort of like general instinctual knowings. So let's talk about instinct. How many of you are going against that right now? That's kind of like the detriment of this general phase, is like questioning instinct, questioning the intuition, questioning what you know is off, and trying to sacrifice your own light for some type of material gain. So for money, okay, for support from the group, for the preservation of complex webs that should have never been weaved in the first place. Feel free during this time of geomagnetic storm to let it burn away. Okay, so paying attention to what doesn't want to stay right now. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so good. Paying attention to what doesn't want to stay, paying attention to what like you're like having to like work so hard or put so much energy into just to like maintain or salvage. Trying to get out of these like scavenging, salvaging, web weaving, manipulative, Machiavellian, dark triad stories and starting fresh. Okay, oh my gosh, you guys, to start fresh, to start new, to let your light come from such a clear place that's not so complicated, decomplicating things. Okay, transparency. These are great ways to meet this period of increased solar activity at a level of spiritual well-being that will kind of maybe prepare your nervous system, prepare your spiritual body, your energetic body for, I don't know, being capable of absorbing or being in this increased radiation and increased solar energy. Also, this more magnetic, when I say magnetic, I mean like truly like magnetism, right? There's a way that these geomagnetic storms have an impact on like the way that we're experiencing magnetism on the planet, the way that we're experiencing our gravitational connection. Are you guys having vertigo? You can perhaps, of course, there are many causes of vertigo, but that is indicated with this increase in solar storm because our vestibular systems and the way that they're connecting to the Earth get reprogrammed when you have increased solar activity. That's just innate channeling that I'm receiving. Yes, so if you're having vertigo, there's something dark, okay? There's something too complicated. There's some type of complex web that is trying to be like dismantled by this increase in solar energy. It's trying to, almost like a torch to the cobweb or something, or like going through your house and like bringing down the cobwebs. It's kind of what's happening if we were to replicate or interpret at a symbolic level what the sun is trying to do to the Earth. It's kind of trying to like take away some of these old cobwebs, almost like going through an older house and getting out. For those of you who've ever gone through like an abandoned house, I'm one of those people. If you've ever gone through a really old house that has like been vacant for a long time and had to like clean it out, you know, like there are sometimes like a lot of vermin there. There is a lot of like cobwebs, a lot of things that have been like destroyed by time, or that's going to also be a very likely thing for people to be manifesting or going through at a quantum level right now too, is facing things which have deteriorated with time. Also facing people who can't like understand it, or you might have to be the only one doing it, but this is good. Okay, cleansing or clearing out old decrepit or deteriorated things is a very good way to channel this energy, because that's basically what the sun is doing with the Earth, and it's not always pretty. Okay, so I'm like, yeah, increase in wildfires. No, I'm not saying the wildfires are because of the solar flares, but it's an interesting thing to be happening simultaneously. Heat, increase in heat, increase in internal temperatures, fevers. It would make sense, wouldn't it? And there is a greater cleansing process happening at the level of Earth, but it's not always pretty. And sometimes it does get out of control. So sometimes when you start a fire, that can get out of control. And it's not like a perfect system, but it is valid and it is real. And it is the way that our entire solar system works. So there's some type of greater function or some type of greater mechanism happening from the center of our entire solar system right now that is saying, in my opinion, to us, to the Earth, something is deteriorated, something is outworn, something has to be cleared, and new systems, new fresh ways need to be incorporated now. And I do also think that this rehones the instinct. I think that it clears away a lot of the things that have us going against our instincts or have us questioning why we have that gut feeling that we need to do this or to not do this. Try to really pay attention to that, and try to just, if you really want to get strong, not even just get strong, but get well, okay, during a time of increased geomagnetic activity and solar storms, like in a year like 2023, you can just kind of like go through your life and like what the universe has put on your plate or what God has put on your plate and just kind of like look to it and ask, okay, what of these things that are on my plate or are in my life or that I have control over, how can they be brought back to life? How can they be made more fresh? How can old problems no longer exist? How can I be more efficient? How can I stop putting myself in shackles or confining myself to abusive contracts, abusive relationships? How can I clear things out? How can I have like fresh, healthy space in my life? Because that is, in my opinion, the motion that I see happening. And yes, we also have a lot of beautiful auroras, okay? Definitely check out some of the links below to see some of those auroras. But that's a sign, okay? The auroras are a sign of a major turning point, and they are also sort of signify a start of a new story, or they signify a wake-up call or some type of like, you know, whenever you have phenomenon, okay, so things that aren't like typical. So like when you have like the sky, like with like colors in it that aren't usually there, or you have like a comet, or you have you know, even retrograde planets, right, that you can see with a naked eye, any type of thing that kind of disrupts natural movement in the sky, this is always a sign, okay? This is always a wake-up call. This is always signaling some type of paradigm shift, and it's good to just meditate and check in with yourself, like what this means for you at a deeper spiritual level. And just pay close attention to anything of burnout, okay? Paying attention to surfacing of negative qualities, ego, obviously tech issues. I think that geomagnetic storms are like Mercury retrograde on steroids. Starting to confine how many hours a day we're spending with technology could be a very good idea, because yes, I believe that radiation increases during this time. So you might want to not just be around all these radiating tech items during solar storms when radiation, there's a lot of radiation, okay? It's a lot. So going into places where there's less radiation, spending time off the grid, spending time in forests, spending time in nature, having curfews with your technology, not maybe sleeping in the same room as the smartphone or the TV, could be positive for some people during this time, just as a very mundane sort of common sense insight. Yes, and also miraculous energy can be here as well. So things getting worked out for you or being met halfway is definitely likely during this time. But anyway, everyone, that concludes the first video in 7-day series here. Thank you so much for being here on my channel. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Check out the new Patreon update, which has happened as well. There are now trials over there, so if you've been considering a Patreon membership, you can get a free trial to see if you like it, which I am so happy that they're offering that as a possibility, because I know that people want to try before they buy sometimes. But it's a great service, and also we have so much great free content coming over this summer and then over the rest of the year as well. So at the very least, hit that subscribe button below, hit the thumbs up button and comment. Let me know what you thought of the video. And thank you all so much for being here on my transit. We will be having a live premiere on the 21st, on the day of the solstice. So come and check out that community space. It should be listed below, all of the time and time zones. And thank you all so much. And I hope you enjoyed this, a different kind of video. Talk to you soon. Bye.